Hey, welcome back to Frank's Model Works. I'm Frank. This next series is going to be done in conjunction with the build of the 1971 Mustang Mach 1 from Revell. It's a series of tools and materials that I use in the construction of a model car. And first up, this assumes that when you are about to start a model car, that you open up the box, you take out the instructions, you go through the sprues, you go through the parts, make sure that they're all there and that they're intact. You do that, right? You do that, right? Please tell me that you do that. You have to do that. I sense another. Anybody know why this lawn furniture paint crazed my plastic model car body? Post on Facebook. I'm just kidding. People are not going to like that. Oh well, whatever, I don't care. So it assumes that you would do that first. The first thing that you're going to do once you've done that is de-sprue your parts. Remove the sprue attachment points and then sand them to remove the mold lines and the ejector pin marks. At this point, you'll also do some minor test fitting and some minor sub-assemblies and remove the seams on those. All of this would be in preparation for priming and painting your parts. So, without further ado, let's take a look on how that's done. Do you think that's going to cause... It's not going to cause any trouble. There's like 4 people watching this. And they like me. Alright, let's take a look. Okay, in front of me, I have the cutting tools that I use for de-spruing and parts cleanup before assembly, before painting and assembly. First off is a single edge part snipper. This particular one is called the God Hand SPN 120. It's a single edge in that this edge right here by my index finger is blunted. And the sharpened edge is this one over here by my left finger. And what you do is you put it up against the part, the sprue that's going to be cut up against the blunted part. And then you close it, and the sharpened bladed part will cut the part off. You get a cleaner cut. Sometimes if you have a double-edged part snipper, you could get like a V, and it's just a little bit. It's cleaner. It's a cleaner cut this way. These are a little spendy, so you got to hide them, because if you don't hide them, people will tend to use them to cut wire. And it's a wasted tool once that happens. So this is a good one. They're all over the place. DSPIAE, de-sprue. I don't know if that's how you. That's also a good one. I have a few of those lying around. But if you make the investment, you're better off in the long run. You buy cheap, you get what you pay for. Okay. Okay, I know I described these single blade cutters before, but I should probably give a demonstration of what I'm talking about. Now, like I had said, this is the blunt edge, and this is the sharpened edge. So take this little license plate frame that we're cleaning up. Got a little sprue attachment point right there. I'm just going to come in with the blade. That just takes that away. So, then a couple of swipes with a sanding stick, and that'll be ready to go. Naturally, there's an ejector pin mark on the back of it. I hate those things. But again, put the blunt edge up against the little nib. Just come in, slice it. Alright. The trusty X-Acto knife. I like this handle for whatever reason, and the blades that I use are this one, the Z series. They do tend to last a little bit longer than the regular cheap bulk things. This package was $40 for 100 blades, but if you could see inside there, I'm about, I would say, maybe 40 blades into 100 blade, and I think I've probably built about 10 models with those 40 blades so far, so they are kind of worth the investment. What I do when I change the blade, I put the used blade on a piece of masking tape, and then I'll take a pair of tweezers, grab a new blade, trying to be careful. A little reluctant to stick my hand in there because I don't want to get cut. Grab that from there. And you always want to be careful. These things are they're sharp. I mean, they're surgical. These are more so surgical instruments, but this thing will cut you. When I was about 13 years old, I cut the pad on the top of this thumb. Just sliced it clean off with an X-Acto blade, and it was so deep. It was one of those things where you're looking at it and it's not even bleeding yet. So I put my finger like this on top of it, and then I saw the blood. The tip turned purple, and I held it there for about 20 minutes, and there isn't even a scar on my thumb from it happening. I mean, this is sharp stuff, so you got to be careful. You got to be more careful with these. These are actual surgical scalpel blades. They generally come with their own type of handle, which I don't like because I can't control it well in my hand with one of these. So these green handles are made by a company named Excel. I'll put a link down in the description. The 4 sizes that I use the most are a number 10. This is a number 15. This is a number 12. This is a kind of sinister looking thing. You can use this for rescribing lines, but I'm going to show you another tool in a minute that's a little bit better for it. And then you also have the trusty number 11 blade. So these are all brand new blades. I'm going to show you how to change a scalpel blade. That involves using a pair of needle nose pliers. I am an unabashed and unapologetic Tamiya fanboy. So these are Tamiya branded bending pliers. In order to get this off, the blade itself rests on a little precipice here, and then there's a little notch right there that you catch the blade on. So the safest way to take it off and to put it on is to catch the blade under here, lift it up a little bit, and then it'll just pop off. Okay? So what you do is you set that aside, and this is the package that each one, because these are supposed to be sterile. They're supposed to be used for surgical uses. You open it up, and there's the new blade. Don't open the package all the way. Leave it sealed a little bit. Take your new blade out, set that down. Take your old blade and stick that in. This way, I mean, if you want, you can get yourself a Sharps container, but you don't want to just take the old blade, throw it into the garbage, because if you go to push down the garbage, these things, I mean, you're getting stitches if you do that. You know what I mean? So you put that back in there, and now to put it back on. Now you'll notice that's smooth. That has the ridge. So this is the side that you want up. You're gonna take the blade. Now notice I'm keeping the meat of my hands away from where this thing is, the direction this thing would go if I slip. You're going to insert the handle into the widest part of the hole, and then you're going to, with very light pressure, you don't have to force it, you pop it on. Oh, and I went right through. Way to screw up an entire video, stupid. Wow, I think... No, okay. Alright, let's try this again. What's going on with this? Alright, that's on. There we go. I just went a little too far. That's on there well. That's not going to go anywhere. It'll resist a lot of pressure, and you're not really going to be using that much pressure. These are so sharp, it makes light work of any plastic that we use. And now I'll move on to this. This is a razor saw. This is good for cutting off little pieces of sprue that are really thick. So you get up close to the part. There's the hood. The hood had it pretty big. Right here, the hood on this car. You see how that? I'm probably going to use this razor saw to get that. And even that, this is going to be a little bit tough because of the curve in here. You want to be careful getting this nub off, because it wants desperately to take a piece of this hood with it. So you got to try to be as creative as possible. Maybe even just scoring along here to get the piece as much as you can, and then from there you clean up the part with what I'm going to set up for next. So hold on. Okay, so the next class of tools that I use for de-spruing and cleaning up my parts prior to priming and painting are sanding tools. They are as simple as a file. There's a rat tail file. Again, my Tamiya fanboyism is showing, because this is a 3-piece Tamiya basic file set. These are good for getting around the mold separation lines on a body. You can sand them. You just got to be careful that you don't alter the contour of the actual body lines. Now, as far as sanding sticks and stuff like that, the problem is there's really no standardization of grit between countries, between continents, and even within continents among manufacturers. So you're better off finding and experimenting, see what you like, and then continue to use it. I like the Infinity sticks. They're foam backed with a rigid core, so they go well. They conform well to the shape of whatever you're sanding. They do load up pretty quick though. And one of the things that I use when my sanding sticks load up is this piece of rubber. You could get this at like Home Depot or a big box hardware store. I think they have them on Amazon as well. This is for cleaning off like belt sanders or circular sanders. So you just rub your stick along there. Pardon the pun. And that helps you. And then you'd wash that and allow it to dry, and you know, one of those things. So another company that I use a lot of is UMP. I like these. They're hard to get, and I don't know if there's a US distributor. Takes a couple of weeks to get them to come across from England. This is like, I don't even know what grit it is, to be honest with you. This gray one, I have no idea. But I do like their buffers. They come in thinnies, really thin. I don't have one at hand right now, and I don't see one close by. This, I don't know what grit this is, and this is allegedly 12,000. Whatever. These are the Flexifile. These are good for getting into tight spots. like I showed you before with the ejector pin marks on the body. These will get you, these are different grits based upon the color of the sander that it's on. I have a whole, and then the grit itself, the inside of the belt will show what grit it is. This is 320. Now, does the 320 go on the green? I don't know. I forget. I just feel it. Well, this one's rougher than that one. I just do it by feel. I try not to complicate things too much. Said the guy who buys 50 different types of tools for each thing that he does. I think this is 240 grit, I think. So we'll handle that. And this one's maybe 400 or 600. Brushes to get sanding dust out of mold lines. You could use toothbrushes, but buy a toothbrush to do it. Don't use your old toothbrush. Not just because it's gross, but also you're not going to get your old toothbrush that you used on your mouth clean enough. There's going to be biological material, and there's also going to be residue of toothpaste. And if you introduce that to a body, you might not, you're going to clean it eventually, but you could wind up getting fish eyes in the paint because there's contaminants. So use something that's dedicated. I bought these, I had a gun cleaning kit and I didn't like this for that purpose, so I started using them for this. This is actually softer than this one. This is stiffer. And when I do occasionally use a toothbrush on painted parts, but I use a softer bristle brush so that I don't introduce scratches into the paint. But these are worth having. I wouldn't use a metal one because you're definitely going to scratch up the plastic with that, even if you use a brass brush. But a medium strength and a softer strength brush is all that you need. Now, once you've sanded down the body, you've sanded down the parts, you've done minor assembly, and you realize, oh, I've lost some detail, like in the panel lines. You're going to have to rescribe those lines. The razor saw is one tool you could use for that, but really only if you're going over the apex of a curve. On a flat surface like the actual door itself, I like to use this scriber, and I have all kinds of scribers. There's a lot on the market. There's one by Tamiya, which I have, which is a rebranded Olfa, OLFA scriber. They all kind of do the same thing. Tamiya has a really super expensive, let me see if I could find it, fine engraving set on the market. And I gotta be honest with you, and even though I said I'm a Tamiya fanboy, the utility of it for car modelers doesn't justify the expense. And it's like $30 a blade, and there's different size blades. It's one thing if you're an aircraft modeler and you're gonna rescribe an entire plane, fuselage and wings and stabilizers, and if you're gonna do that, maybe look into it. But for what we use an engraving tool or a scriber, it's really, you don't have to spend that much money. You could use the back of an X-Acto blade. It's a little bit more imprecise to do that. Specialized tools for this purpose, I think you're better off using that. Now, the key to doing that is don't try to change the world in one pass. You just get one little, and that's it. Now, let me see if I grab another one. we all know I'm going to skip out of this body line and go right into the panel. All right. So you're not looking to remove a lot of material. I don't know if that's going to focus. I know my eyes ain't focusing on it. So you're not really, with each pass, it's worth just going as light as you can. This way you have control. And like I said in my airbrush video, control is the key to all of this. If you have control over your tools and your materials, you can make anything look good. So, while it's worth it to invest in good products, sometimes the best product for your application isn't necessarily the most expensive one. I forget how much these were. I bought these several years ago. But most of the tools that are acceptable for this job are in the $10 to $15 range. You don't really have to go crazy. If I find... Let me put you on hold for a second. I'm going to find the Tamiya engraving tool. Stand by. Okay, so it's going to seem like a really quick jump cut to you guys was, to me, about 45 minutes. Because while I was looking for these, I knocked over this tray of parts and everything fell all over the floor. And I had to spend about 45 minutes looking for that. All those parts. So while I was doing that, then I wound up getting as many scribers as I could. So I had mentioned before that Tamiya makes an Olfa inspired cutter. This is the original Olfa scriber that the Tamiya is based on. You can get the Tamiya one off of Amazon for about $9. And what's good is that it's a push-pull. You can both push the scriber and pull. So you could do that. And you could do that. And what you're trying to take off, you're not trying to dig the Marianas Trench. You're trying to take off about that much material with each pass. So you can accomplish that with this. I went and I dug these out. Each one of these blades is about between $25 and $30. That's overkill. I mean, they work very well. But like I said, unless you're re-etching, rescribing the panel lines for a plane or something, and even that would be a small scale plane. I don't know if do you deserve it? You absolutely deserve it. You're the greatest person on the planet, because if you're watching my video and you're subscribing to my channel, you're worth every penny. But realistically, and the handle, it doesn't come with the handle. The handle is separate. This is $16. So realistically, I don't think it's a good choice given the price. These are actually pretty good by MRP if you can find them. I don't know who even carries these anymore. They have a narrow one. The blue handle is narrow. Is not narrow. It's wedge. It works as well as the really narrow one with the black handle. And this one is like a needle, if you see. Now this one is the same as this one, which is the same as this one. So I don't know if a needle, and some people recommend like, oh, a needle chucked in a pin vise works well also. My experience is that these like to skip out of a panel line, and you're digging a crevice into, and then you got to repair that. So I have good luck with this black one, and even I can't find the Tamiya branded one right now, but this style works really well. This is by the same company that makes my razor saw. Well, it's available from the same company. I don't know if it's manufactured by the same. UMM USA. And this is an edge itself. Not a really sharp one, but it is an edge. But this is the scriber, and this is also a push-pull type. So it's an option. I forget how much this was, but it wasn't really super expensive. And then I came across this thing, and I don't even remember buying it, but this looks like something that's going to get you on a TSA watch list, so I don't know what I would even use this for, but it popped up. It's sharp as hell. I think this was like a mold line scraper, but it didn't work well, which is why I think it got shoved where all these other tools were. Like I said, I don't really use these much anymore, if at all. So that's that for your panel scribing. Alright, so the final part is cleaning your parts. When should you clean them? There's a very simple answer to that. Whenever you feel like it. If you want to when you take the parts out of the box and before you take them out of the bags, when you take them out of the bags and before you start taking the part, if you want to wash it, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with it. Just be careful. Use like room temperature water, or if you're gonna do it under running water, just make sure it's not too hot. A little dishwasher detergent on there. Clean it off. Sure, no problem. I would recommend afterwards, after you've de-sprued your parts, cleaned up your sprue attachment points, and gotten rid of your mold separation lines, I would recommend washing them again, because you got to remove the sanding dust and the oils from your hands. So that being said, even after you prime, you might want to sand after you prime, and if that's the case, give it a rinse, give it a little wash. So that's what I would recommend. There's not a strict orthodox way of doing this. A lot of these things become intuitive after a while, but there are certain things that aren't intuitive. Like the joke that I made in the beginning of the video, I realize might be a little bit over the top, but it's coming from a specific place. And it's from a place of disappointment, and if I'm being very honest. And I'm disappointed with a lot of forums and a lot of the people that frequent the forums and social media groups. When people come someplace with a problem in our hobby, and they ask a question like, what happened here? I used X paint and this and that and the other thing. You're going to get 5 wrong answers 35 different times. Mixed in with the people who were going to swear up and down, well, I've used that process and I've never had a problem. All of which are non-answers, and they don't help. So what's the point? Well, I used that paint. I never had a problem. So what you're really saying is the problem is with the person. Okay. How about you delve deeper there? What did you do? How did you prime it? What did you do for prep? What kind of paint did you use? You use that? Here's the problem with that. And then you go through, I never had a problem with that. If you're having a problem with something and you go on to one of these groups or forums and you ask a question and you get one of those, flippant answers, click on that person's profile or see what they've posted in that group. You're going to be stunned how many of them have never posted any of their builds. I wonder why. Or if they did post one of their builds, it looks like it's a flip phone picture of a Polaroid of a model 15 feet across a dark room inside a china closet. I wonder why. Or it's a nice, clear, up-close picture of something that looks like it was finger painted during a withering artillery barrage. The rare exception in situations like that are the people who can lay down a halfway decent paint job or production method. But big deal. If you're the exception and not the rule, you better buy a camera and start filming yourself rather than stand there and judgmentally look down on people who don't get the same results that you do. And it's getting annoying. It really is. The gatekeeping, the judgmental attitude. What's wrong with what went so wrong in your life that that's how you spend your time on social media groups or on forums, just looking down on people who are asking for help, and you just see it as an opportunity to make them look and feel stupid. Be helpful. And if you can't be helpful, be silent. And if you don't know the difference, be silent. Frank had a rant. Doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna watch this. It doesn't. But it's just something that grates at me, and I see it, and I like to help people, but I'm often so drowned out by these answers that it becomes futile. And then like they go by just, there's a logical fallacy that states just because an opinion is popular doesn't make it a fact. Just because something is popular doesn't make it true. So you'll have these people who have heard these tropes over and over and over again, and they've come to accept a level of result because they don't know any better, or they don't think that they can do better with their results. And it's almost as if they don't want to see anybody get past them. There are competitions in scale modeling, but the entire hobby itself is not a competition. You know, ideally you'd want real competition at a contest. You know what I mean? And there are thousands of really super talented, really super competent modelers out there. But you'll notice about them, they're never judgmental about the modeler or the model. They're often very willing to help, frequently have YouTube channels, pages, that kind of stuff of their own. So keep that in mind if you're trying to get an answer to a question. And don't just assume that because a lot of people are saying it, that it's true. And I know this it comes off as angry, but it is. I'm frustrated by it. It's every day. I see these models aren't getting cheaper, folks. And you drop $35 on a kit, and you listen to some schmo who tells you, yeah, throw that model, throw that paint on there. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Build it your way. And then what? You build it your way, according to them, and the thing crazes. So then you hit the popular modeling groups, and that's not a reflection on the people that run those groups. Some of those groups are gigantic, and they can't. There's just not enough time in the day. They hit these groups and they ask these questions, and we try to help them, and people who are giving them solid answers are getting drowned out by the idiots who are just happy with garbage, for lack of a better term. So, and I hope my words aren't taken out of context. I don't consider myself a good modeler, because I know I'm not. I objectively know. The honest statement about what I build is that it approaches mediocrity, and that's it. That's as good as it gets for me. Okay, and I'm never gonna say anything bad. And you know what? Most people would agree, which is fine. But I'm trying to do better, and I'm open to learning other techniques, and I'm open to teaching results that I've been able to demonstrate work moderately well. I'm just tired of getting drowned out by these idiots who don't know what they're talking about. But whatever. I better not see one lighten up Francis in those comments. I better not. I'm just kidding. So, as always, I appreciate your support. I thank you for your patience in my rant. And until we speak again, my friends, take care of yourselves and be well.